Okay, guys, good morning again. Thank you for being here with us today. I think you are going to find that the application is very similar to what we have done before, but yet much, much better. So we are very proud of what we have to show you today. So before we get started, we're going to go through a few housekeeping things. Our apologies to those of you who have been here with us and been dedicated for the first 2 days. You get to hear it for a third time. Maria, do you want to move to the next slide? So I'd like to welcome you and introduce our team. Maria Drain is our graduate assistant, and she is working very hard and very effectively to help build these pieces. So Maria, do you want to say anything, or there she is?
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Boot Camp Day 3. I'm excited about this piece because one, I've actually started beginning to build a demo one, so I know much about it. So I'm very excited to see what Andy has for us.
Very good. And then, of course, our fearless leader, Dr. Hill Jackson, is with us. Val, did you want to say anything?
Oh yeah, it's been a great 2 days. Actually, it's been a fabulous sort of 10 months, Misty. You've been working behind the scenes, learning this stuff. I've only come up to speed in the last 6 months. And I got to say, you and Maria are working really well together. And if you all are feeling overwhelmed now, just think how our initial folks were feeling just a few months ago. It's a slow process. It's a lot, but I think if we just take it one day at a time, one function at a time, we're definitely going to get there. So I'm so glad we're on day 3. I don't know about you, but in my house, Fridays represent Martini Friday. So can't wait to get to my martini at 5:30 and call it a great week. Thanks for being here today, everybody. It's going to be a great day.
And I'd like to introduce the star of the show. He kind of grimaced. Andy Oswald is the Tk20 coordinator at Sam Houston, who has been so wonderful and sharing his time and talents with us. So he is kind of our captain today, and he'll be leading us through the boot camp.
This is day 3. Previously, Val had said I was the bus driver. Today, I've been promoted to captain.
Yeah.
So as your captain speaking, buckle in, raise your tray tables to the full and upright position because it might get bumpy, but we'll have a good ride.
Love that, Andy.
There you go.
Thanks, Andy. Okay, Maria. So as you all know, the Ed Prep office is growing. We're not only growing in size of staff and faculty, but we're growing in the ways that we have been able to successfully prepare our students. And all of that aligns with our mission, which you can see on the screen. Is our mission is to support the needs of our students. And sometimes the needs of our students have to be met by meeting the needs of the faculty and staff in order for those to translate down to the students. And so we feel like Tk20 represents our meeting a need and helping to further promote and set our students up for success. Okay, Maria. So here's the agenda for today. We did create 2 breaks, and it looks like we will have some time to do some question and answer, some specific concerns or whatever that you may want to address towards the end. But as we move through the day, please drop your questions in the chat box, and Dr. Hill Jackson, Maria, and I will be monitoring those chat boxes. And if we can't answer, we will send those to Andy or we'll get back to you. Right, Maria? So if you've been here with us, you've already kind of figured this out, but TK20 is used as an assessment, accountability, and management system, and it helps colleges and universities to meet accreditation requirements. We have a fabulous system in place now, but I think what we're going to find with this system is we're not only going to meet our accreditation standards, we're going to be able to use it to help us improve. So it all kind of revolves back to that ed prep mission of helping our students, and in order to help our students, sometimes we have to help ourselves. So TK20, it means technology in kindergarten through age 20. Right. So for faculty and staff, this is a place where we are going to store assessments. We're going to track any benchmarks, development guidelines, development needs. We're also going to be able to use all of this data that we are collecting and be able to download it and put it in a format so that we can do continuous improvement research, look and see where do we need to strengthen ourselves, at what point do we maybe need to make some changes. So this is going to be a great benefit for our staff. Compliance wise, it's going to help me to make sure that we ensure compliance. For our students, they're going to have a chance to use the portfolio system to kind of create a, I like the term electronic gallery of their artifacts, something they will have access to long after graduation, and they will be able to use those to promote to their potential employers. And they're going to have everything they've done fully documented in one place. So that is a huge benefit. You're probably familiar now with our 3 buckets. I will tell you, there have been nights over the past 6 months that I dream about these buckets. So if you're tired of seeing the buckets, just know that they have made their way into my dreams at night. Our first bucket is field experience. And if you were here for day 1, we took a dive into that. It is probably the most comprehensive piece to TK20. It was actually the original piece, the reason the system was built. So it is very, very inclusive. And it was overwhelming for our attendees, but trust me, you'll get to the point to where it doesn't seem so frightening. Portfolios and the course-based assessments, we talked about that yesterday. Andy had a great chart for us to understand the differences of those. And the applications, of course, is what we're going to talk about today. These are the buckets that our college has decided we are going to move forward with. With that being said, Maria and I are going to help you create those buckets for each of your program. And then we will have a basic for you, but then you get to make it your own, and you get to make it fit your program and your needs. And that's the beautiful thing, that each one of our programs is so individual and so unique, and you get to use these things to reflect that uniqueness. Okay. So the timeline, lots of people are concerned about it. It is a very aggressive timeline. It's very ambitious, but it's not to say that we can't do it. And it's also not to say that there isn't some wiggle room with some of the other buckets. We're here now to kind of give you an overview. Maria and myself are considered the college launch team, and we will be working with your program launch team. So you need to decide as a program who is going to represent your program and have the voice to say, these are the things our program needs and wants. We're also going to be the ones to kind of drive this TK20 timeline and launch program through our program. So if you haven't already, your program needs to identify this team. Beginning June 1st, Maria and I will be meeting with your program launch team. So we'll have a merger of the college launch team and the program launch team. We will come together and talk about your needs. We'll gather your documents and we will start building. Towards the end of June, beginning of July, we will work and be ready to show you what we've built for you. That'll be another meeting between the college launch team and your program launch team. At that point, you get to look at it and say, hey, great job, we love it. Or, hey, it's great, but can you make these changes? And at that point, that's when the conversation starts to really identify anything special and specific that we didn't already get the first go round. So don't feel like when you have your initial meeting with us that you have to know everything, because you're not, and neither are we. So come in with the basics of what you know you need and what you're for sure that you're going to use. And then once we build that, there's room in there to manipulate, massage, identify, and recreate again later. The first week of August, we will want to touch back with all the programs and just make sure that everybody is ready to go. Again, the field experience and portfolio launches, those have a little flexibility because we're trying to teach out of the data portal, but nothing new is going in the data portal as far as applications. So applications, this group, we have a hard deadline. Effective the first day of school, fall semester, the only application you are using is the one in Tk20. So you will not use the data portal anymore. So this is why it's imperative that we work together over the summer to get at the minimum your application up and ready to go. Any questions about this timeline before we move on? I've said a lot. Nope. Okay. So again, what is your program launch team? So this is where you want to get a group of individuals. I recommend that it is faculty and staff. You really need the voice of both groups because the content belongs to the faculty. The building, the working, the everyday details, such as the application, the reviews, some of those things, that needs to be done by a staff member or will be done by a staff member. So it's important that a group of faculty isn't creating something and then nobody from the staff has a say in it and vice versa. So identify your group and get that together. Once your group has been identified, please reach out to me and Maria, and we are anxious to schedule the meetings with you and get started. Okay, Maria. I'm not sure, Val, what did we need to talk about with this piece here?
No, just on the right, great job there,
Okay.
Missy, but just on the right, there's just a list of all the different programs, right? By
Okay, I see what you're saying.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Mhm.
So kind of an idea of what programs need a launch team, etc.
That's exactly right.
Fantastic. Okay.
All right,
So
so
now I'm going to turn it over to Val. She's the teacher in the group, so she gets to take charge here.
I didn't forget that you also have your teaching certifications too. So, all right, everyone. So listen, great job there again, Misty, in explaining sort of our timeline for how we're going to move forward. And I hope you all heard something really important, that in order for us to move forward, you all have to tell us what you need. We're not going to push anything on you, right? The work that we're going to do moving forward is on those 3 buckets, right? But you're going to let us know what you need. And some of your programs, you've already started doing that. So let's say you've already assembled your program area launch team. Now you need to sort of get together and figure out those activities that need to be reflected on the Tk20 platform. All right, so what we have for you all to sort of work on as a group, as a launch team, is just a little planning worksheet. Now, you can design whatever worksheet you want, but I thought it might be great to have some kind of template to get started. So we're offering this to all of you. If you scroll down just a little bit there, Maria, we have some terms that you'll see on this worksheet. And so those are the definitions of those terms, what we mean by benchmark, what we mean by task, so that when you get to the worksheet on the next page, we all have a common understanding of what these terms mean. All right, let's move down just a little bit. So you'll see in this worksheet, there are those 3 buckets again. So let's just slowly scroll so our friends Maria can see the 3 buckets. So there's field experiences, then there's portfolio in blue underneath. There we go. And then the last bucket on this worksheet is applications. Very good. And let's scroll back up to field-based. So what we have is an opportunity for you to work together as a program area launch team. You're going to identify all of those sort of tasks and activities that occur, in this case, specific to field experiences. All right. So as a reminder, Tk20 is a form-based system. So a lot of those handouts that you give to your students or you guys have in-house, now you need to think about how do those student handouts or those administrative handouts, how those can be translated onto Tk20, right? So for example, in the teacher ed program, I know that there are 4 observations, and you guys actually have observation sheets that you give out to your university supervisors. So this is where you sort of name those tasks. In this case, it would be the observations. Tk20 needs to know who needs permission to have access to that task and field experiences. So you'll see there, I have US, that stands for University Supervisor. I have C there, that stands for candidate. You create your own little acronyms there. And FO stands for field office, right? But it's really important that you understand that once these buckets are built inside Tk20, the permissions need to be turned on so that certain folks have access, right, to that particular task or activity. I placed there in the notes in red, the due dates for those observations, a description of the observation. For example, the start time of the observation, the end time of the observation, all that information that was on that form you already have, that needs to be named here for completion of that particular task. But also, you all know that a lot of that information needs to be reported back to TEA. So there's some program level information that you all need, and then there's some compliance information that needs to go on that form as well. Now, what do we mean by benchmark? Now, my definition for this particular case, it just means where in your program does this particular task or activity occur, right? So for our undergraduate teacher program, it is Clinical 4, otherwise known as student or clinical teaching, and it's tied to TEFB 426 or 429, okay? Now, assigned to, what does that mean? That means who's responsible every semester to make sure that the next sort of binder is ready to go with the next group of students. It may be Kim Parrish, it may be Kara Green, it may be someone else, but we need to know because every semester, new binders need to be in place for the next cohort of students. And so it's important to know who's going to do that work. And then any other notes that Misty or Maria might need to help get your binder created for you. Now, you're not creating a new one every semester. All you're doing is copying and tweaking if you need to. So that's the good news about Tk20. You're not recreating every semester. You're just setting up a new opportunity. And often that just means sort of copying, right? The field experience that binder that already exists. If you move down just there, I believe just in the last row where it reads field experiences, those are some prompts. Those are some questions that you need to be reflecting on as a team and have some answers for us. Now you're doing all this as a program launch team in preparation for that meeting with the college launch team. So you got a little bit of homework to do. Think about all those activities that happen in those buckets. Who needs to be the person who's going to sort of work with the unit administrator, and that's Misty, to ensure that these things are ready to go every semester, okay? Now, this is just a starting point. You can design whatever kind of document that you need, but we need to have your homework finished by the time you have that meeting with Misty and Maria, June 1st through June 18th. All right there. So I'm gonna pause for a second, see if there are any questions.
I may have missed this.
Yes, ma'am.
Val, I may have missed this, but well, are y'all going to send this sample out?
Yes, you know, Maria has sent it out over the last 2 days. We're going to send it out again. And as a reminder, we've created that shared Google Drive where our workbooks from the last couple of days, all that has been parked, videos have been parked. This document is in our shared drive as well. So if you miss anything in your email, Beth, you can just go to the shared drive.
I'm just meaning this one that's filled in as a sample. I have the other ones.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I uploaded this one into our shared drive last night, so it's there already.
Perfect.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you for that. All right, Miss Maria, we're going to continue. Okay, so let me go ahead, Misty.
So that's kind of a great transition to the shared drive where all of our stuff is housed. So anything that you didn't get or you need to get again or would like to take a closer look at something, this is where all the recordings, everything are there, and you guys absolutely have access to that whenever you need it. And you can see the wheels moving there. They are moving with us as well. We've already excitedly scheduled a couple meetings so that we can get these launch and college and program launch teams going. And then of course, our website, which currently houses a very limited amount of TK20 information, but that is going to be kind of bolstered up and look a lot better before the start of the fall semester as well. So all great locations for you to find resources. And don't forget, Maria and I are a resource for you as well. Post-implementation, when you guys need support, the first place we're going to go is Watermark. We're going to use their support system for any kind of technical assistance that we need. If you need support centered around the building, the functionality of your forms, your binders, those kinds of things, that is our tk20@tamu email. And Maria and I answer that email. So we will be able to help you from there. Of course, you're always welcome to pick up the phone or send us an email directly. And then Rachna, bless her heart, she kind of did all the dirty work behind the scenes to get the semester loads in. So if you have issues or if we encounter issues with loads in which the student information isn't loading properly to TK20 and your students can't get access, that is a time when we would deal with that on a college level. Otherwise, those requests for service would go through Watermark instead of Rachna. So multi-pronged support systems, all for very specific different needs. Just like our other days, and for those of you that are new, there are some vocabulary words and things that you will need to know as we go throughout the day, words that are maybe something you're familiar with, or it's a tweak to the word. One of our goals is to get everybody using the same language, and a transition to TK20 is a good time to do that. So we are all going to make sure that we have a shared vocabulary, and the terms for today are in your workbook on page 14. And now the captain has removed the seatbelt sign, and you're free to take notes during his demonstration. So Andy, I turn it over to you.
All right, thank you very much. So I am going to, I need to get access here. So I guess I'm gonna just click, okay, I'm gonna stop the other screen sharing here. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to share my screen. There we go. So a short discussion before we do that deep dive, as we've kind of done in the past. Today is applications and application review forms. And unlike perhaps some of the other things that we talked about, like what is a course-based assignment, you know, what is a portfolio, what is a field experience binder, all that, where you might have had a kind of an idea about what those are, applications and application review forms are pretty much what they sound like. And applications can be used for just about anything. If you need a formal declaration, let us say, from the student, I want to do this. I want to be an Aggie teacher. I want to be an Aggie principal. I want to be admitted to senior methods block. I want to get into student teaching, and my first choice is Caldwell ISD. My second choice is Somerville ISD. I don't know if y'all have partnerships there or not, but you know, could be. This is the place where you solicit specific information that you need to know that the student is going to feed to you. And just like what we've seen on the other days, this is form-based. Val hit it right on the head. Nearly everything that is built starts with one or more forms. In this case, we're going to look at two particular forms. There's going to be an application form that I have built that actually I stole from Maria, and hers was really, really long. So I kind of like chopped out some of it. No offense, Maria. And then I did something very, very similar with the review form. Point is, though, that you as programs, depending upon what you need that formal declaration from the student that they want to do something, and also how you're going to decide whether or not they get to do that something is up to you. Recently at SAM, we started using the application form for a different reason, and whether or not y'all want to follow us down this path, that's fine. But our certification officer was getting a little bit overwhelmed with requests for, I want to take a certification test. And if you're familiar with the process, a student just can't go out and take, like they can with a practice test, they can't just go out and take a certification test. The entity, the school, the certification officer specifically, basically has to unlock them. And it was getting insane, or more insane, I guess, at our school. And so the question was, can we put some kind of controls on this? And so we instituted an application that the student can go out and say, I want to take this test. They give some other information, and then a student worker kind of goes in behind the scenes and completes the review form. And if everything comes out okay, then Jean can admit them, or not admit them. Jean can grant them access to it. And it's a lot more controlled. There's a lot less chaos with that. So what I'm getting to here is you can use applications for a lot of different functions, some of which might have a chronological basis in terms of moving through the program or applying for a specific block or end block, a clinical block, and as well as that application to the EPP. So, and that can be used if you wish, not just for your undergrads and your teacher candidates. There's ways that you can use this in the same exact way if you so choose for your advanced programs, your graduate counseling and principalship superintendent programs. I do want to make mention of one thing that I'm not sure that Misty or Val or Maria are aware of this. There is it's not parallel universe, but there's a parallel process to admission to applications and application review forms, and it's called admissions applications and admissions applications review forms. And I'm still sitting here on this login page, and there's this piece right down here. This is what normally shows up whenever you log in, just like that. That's what you normally see. I can actually click right here. Now, I added this information, and I hope that's okay with Val and Misty and Maria for right now. You can go in there and change that. But this is sitting there as if, and this could very well apply to your advanced programs in particular. Somebody is interested in getting their master's and their principalship, their school leadership certification, but they don't have Texas A&M credentials yet. If you so choose, you can actually make this part work for you. And I'm going to click right here.
Andy, I think we are going to deactivate that option.
Okay. All right. Then I'm going to get out of this and stop talking about it. Point is, there we go. Let's go back to this. There it is. Okay. That is a possibility if you want to go down that road. So let's move forward. Maria, I'm going to relinquish control. Can you, we need to also touch on something here that was minorly problematic yesterday. The user logins. Can you display that? I'm going to stop sharing. Every day we've had different people sign up for different things, and whatever your users were, the student, the faculty member, the coordinator, whatever it might have been, could very well change. And so we want to use, for those first 20 people that signed up, these letters this time, which could very easily have been different from day one and day two. I'm going to be using the U-Test account down here at the very, very bottom, but please take note of that. And also I'm going to say this, after this day is done and boot camp is done, I'm not going to do anything in particular. In fact, Val and Misty will probably kick me out of the system completely. But these accounts and the sandbox that I created for y'all for the last 3 days, that'll stay in place. And even though you may not be participating today, you can probably contact Misty or Maria and say, hey, can you give me some credentials? Because I want to go back and play with some of this stuff, while you're watching the video that's being recorded right now, and you'll have that ability to get in to the stuff. Your password is going to be Aggies, all lowercase, to get into these demo test accounts. At some point in time, I think Maria may reset those just for security purposes. But for today, and at least I think the immediate future, that'll be available to y'all so that you can actually get your feet wet a second time, a third time, with whichever of the account and components that we've talked about. So those are available to you. So before I move on, I'm going to turn on my grid view and look at your bright shining faces and say, everybody okay? Give me a thumbs up. You can turn on your mic and ask a question. Kayla's nodding her head. We're good, Kayla. I got a thumbs up. Excellent. I think it's fabulous that the Gig'em sign is used all over the place with videos and social media. It's like, yep, there we go. We're good. Okay, very well. I'm going to minimize you all. Take no offense of that. Where are we here? There we go. All right, make that a little bit smaller. So let's see, share screen now. Let's go back to my screen. Here we go. There we go, minimize that. Thank you. All right, so we're going to start off by looking at an application from the student standpoint. We've kind of done this before, and I think it's important for you all to see things on both sides. Maria had created a potential application to the EPP for people that want to be teachers. And like I said, I took that, stole it, kind of made it my own for our demonstration and test purposes here today. I'm going to start out by going in as my, whoops, I'm not typing in the right place. Hello. In my UTest student account. And logging in. Here we are. Now, if you are joining us for the first time today, I need to explain that we may be switching back and forth between a faculty account or a coordinator account or a student account. And because none of these users actually exist, in order to give them the actual access that we need, we are tricking the single sign-on system with Texas A&M, and you can pass on my apologies to the IT team, but I don't think it's a problem. Once you've logged in with that demo account, you need to switch it. In this case,
She wasn't as strong of a mentor as,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want Kara to have the wrong impression.
What?
That would be my biggest thing. Now, as far as, I felt like she knew her stuff. I know she's already passed her STR exam.
Yeah.
Um,
We would have to get her a really good mentor. He would have to work.
Okay, I guess we're good. So I've become, let's see, yeah, I am now a student. Here we go. And I've got my student menu over here. Now, one of the things about applications, unlike time logs, to get into the correct time log, the program has to match how the time log is set up. That's not the case with applications yet. I think enough universities have requested this functionality change with Tk20 that it will be coming. But for right now, if an application is turned on, that is to say it's been created and it's been set up to where it's open for people to get into it, that means that anybody can get into it. It doesn't matter if they're a principal or they're going to be a teacher or a counselor. If the application is open, they can get to it. And when I click right here on applications, and now I've already created one down here, and I'm going to create another one for this purpose. When I click right there, more than likely you've got a completely blank screen because you have no application sitting out there. An undergrad student in a teaching track more than likely is going to have 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 of these things as they are applying to the program, perhaps as they apply to junior methods, senior methods, Clin 1, Clin 2, Clin 3, or apply to eventually student teaching, Clinical 4. And possibly other programs. If you have a special ed program and there is a block and you want to have, and the special ed team says, we want students to apply to this block so we can find out where they want to do their field experience. That's a legitimate reason for an application. And it can be turned on and off once or twice a semester. Word gets out, hey, if you're seeking your SPED certification, you need to make sure that you complete this application so that we know where to place you for your SPED block. That sort of idea. In this particular case, when I click on create new application, I'm going to have a drop down. And right now there's only 2 sitting out there. I believe the general ed application for spring 2021 is in fact Maria's. What I'm going to do is this demo test, undergraduate EC through 6 and 4 through 8 application. Now, if you're reading this and saying, now, wait a minute, I teach all level or secondary programs. Does that mean I need a separate application? The short answer is maybe. You might want to have, as a program, speaking to basically everybody here, you might want to have a combined application for EC through 6 and 4 through 8 and EC through 12 and all of the secondary programs all on one application. You can do that. For a variety of reasons, you might need to ask different questions of the student if they're a secondary. And this is very common. This is what we do at SAM. We have our EC through 6 and 4 through 8 application, and it is separate from the secondary folks application to be a teacher because there's
Andy?
different. Yes,
Oh, I'm sorry. You finish your thought and then I want to jump in.
absolutely. So because the teams wanted something different on those two applications, even though both of them get you into the EPP as a teacher, we created two of them. So, and they are very clearly labeled, just like this one is. The other one would be labeled EC through 12 and secondary application to the EPP. All right, go ahead, Misty, please.
So just as a point of reference as to where we are in the application process, Maria and I have created this general application. And we had a meeting with a program that said, this isn't really going to work for us. And we have now identified that we have to find a way to, when the students log in and they get this drop down, that they know which application they should be applying for. Some of them are very clear. I want to be a PE teacher, so I'm applying for physical education. Some are not going to be so clear. And that's where we have to get back to the vocabulary, for one thing. And we know that application for a professional level program is going to require additional things, such as a copy of their teaching certificate, a copy of their years of experience, a copy of their previous degree. Don't panic, folks. We know that you need all of those things, and we are going to make sure that your application not only covers your program, but it meets the needs that the college wants as well. So it is our goal, and we have a meeting with Tk20 with our client folks next week, because we have a lot of questions about this, but our goal is that the application will be basically in 3 parts. The first part is going to be the student information. The second part is going to be general information that we are capturing as a college. And then the disposition will be a part of that. And then the third part will be specific to your program. So as you're thinking through your planning sheet and as you're listening today, please know that this is going to be very specific to your program.
Thank you, Misty. And those are all good points. And she hit upon one thing that I want, that we will see this in just a few moments. In addition to asking students important questions, like for a student teaching application, what is your first, second, third choice for school districts where you want to do your student teaching, if y'all give them a choice? If you put that on there, the student can just use a drop down or a multiple choice button and do that. But there's also an option in Tk20 for nearly every type of form. In this case, we're looking at an application form for the student to upload a file. So we're going to see that example in here in just a few seconds. But for the advanced programs, absolutely, we're going to need for the student to upload not a notarized copy, but probably something that's been signed off by a school district office showing years of service, as well as, you know, other documents as y'all are going to require for this. It's very easy for the student to get that. They get a scanned copy of it, turn it into a JPEG or a PDF, and they can load it directly into the application where it is basically stored forever. You're always going to have access to that. Misty, did you want to say something? I saw your name flash there.
No, I'm typing.
Okay,
Sorry.
very good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click here. I want to create this application, and I'm going to choose next. Now, one of the things I want to call your attention to right at the very top of this, okay, it's got this, this is the application I'm filling out. It does not ask for what is your name. It does not ask, you know, what is your first name, what is your last name? It doesn't even ask for the student's ID number or the email address. And the reason for this is, in order for me to get to this application as a student, I have to log in as a student. Now, right now we're in a demonstration mode, but because in reality, students are going to log in and hit this, Tk20 knows who they are. On most all areas of Tk20, field experience, time logs, portfolios, there is rarely a need to say, please type in your name, because we already know what your name is because you logged in to get here. All of that meta information is behind the scenes, even though you don't see it here. When you run a report, you'll be able to see all that information and you'll know who that person is. So you don't have to build that stuff in there. Okay, so the other thing I want to make mention of is something like this is kind of important, which I'll let Misty and Maria worry about that, because a principal could get to this application, or somebody that's about to go into student teaching. A person that's about to go into student teaching is not applying to the EPP. At SAM, we thought it was a really good idea to say, hey, this is who should be completing this. And here's what you do. Where we go? This is what you do if this doesn't apply to you, which basically go down to the bottom and cancel out of it. Because at this point in time, as I said, there is no control on who's allowed to get to this. I expect that to come, but it's not here yet. Now, like I said, I stole this from Maria and Misty. This was one that was built out. I took a few pieces out of it just to keep it a little bit shorter, but it says right here with an asterisk, a required field, please select your certification area. Now, here, these look like exactly what they say. These are the areas where someone can get certified. And I was a math person. Is math on here? I'll do physics and math. Why not? There we go. That's my certification area. Now it says, please select your program. Now, I don't fully understand all of these, but clearly there would be a disconnect if I did this. And I'm just going to throw this out there for Misty and Maria.
That's where we're struggling, Andy, and that's what we're visiting with our TK20 folks about next week, as to how to make it clear to the students, because y'all know that as brilliant as these little chickadees are, they don't speak the same language as us.
Right.
So when we say you're a TLAC student, they may or may not know that they're a TLAC student. They may say, I'm an Aggie Teach student because I'm an Aggie and I want to be a teacher.
Right, right.
And so we are going to have to find a way to very clearly parse out that language and very clearly parse out who should be doing what in these applications.
Excellent. And I'm going to throw out a suggestion for you. The certification area is cut and dry. These are the things that SBEC says we can do. As opposed to program, what I would suggest is a drop-down menu of major, minor combinations.
Well, they don't always know that either.
Well,
Bless their little
okay,
heart.
I don't know what to say to that.
Well, and a lot of it is because our second, and we're getting in the weeds and I won't take time for this, but because of our minor is very general, and they may say, but I'm getting a degree in math and my minor is teaching. Well, the minor doesn't very clearly identify that. So again, this is where we need to find out the language that we need to be using to be very clear with the student.
All right, fair enough. This may not be necessary, but if you think that you need a personal email address, put it on there. Cell phone number might be very, very useful. Mine, of course, is 123-456-7890. How did you hear about this program? This is a required field. Well, I heard about it through the Texas A&M Recruiter, and it does have a place down here for other. It does have a thing down here for other, and then they can fill in this text box. In some cases, it's a great idea to have a required field. This one clearly should not be a required field, so there's no asterisk. Are you the first one to attend college? Yes, no, I do not know, or I choose not to answer. I'm not the first one in my family to attend college. I think at the time that I started at A&M, my dad's salary was somewhere between 40 and 70, but I don't know. That was something that was not discussed. And so I put this down here also. I do not know, or I choose not to answer. That might be a legitimate answer also. And these are, I'm also setting these ones as not required. So be thinking about what you want to ask and what absolutely has to be answered. This is a form that was built actually by Maria, and then I stole it and I tweaked it a little bit. So think about what you want to ask, what do you want to know from the student, and what you absolutely have to go forward. I think Maria had these ones originally set as required. I turned that off because you might have a student that really isn't a part of any of these things. I was in the band. That's about it. Extracurricular activities, what do I do? Or what was I doing? I don't know. I'll put that down. I don't know. At any rate, those are all optional. I do not have to put anything there. There's no asterisk. So I could leave this one completely blank and I would still be able to submit this. If there's an asterisk next to any of these, they have to answer at least one of these. So I would have to put in at least something here if there was an asterisk here. So if you want to force them to answer this, another choice down here might be none of the above, and that would work for you then. Okay, we found it's a very, very good idea to tell students what is required to get in and stay in, and we give them a multiple choice with one possible answer. They cannot submit this application unless they say, I understand and acknowledge the educator preparation program admission requirements. If they leave that blank, they will not be able to submit this. So it's basically capturing a forced answer that they are answering here. This one's actually kind of critical. Most folks have not been somewhere else, but it does happen once or twice a year for us at SAM that someone has been somewhere else, which puts a job on Misty to have them have that other school remove them so that A&M could claim them. It's kind of a strange thing. 5 attempts, that's it. You can't take this 20 times just because you've got the money to do it, and that's crazy anyway. Criminal background check, I will be checked, absolutely. This is kind of interesting right here. We've got a link to the Texas Administrative Code that should take us outside the system. Yeah, there it is. Here's the Texas Administrative Code, not only for educators, but educator certification. And, you know, unfortunately, student teachers can get arrested, and I think sometimes they do. It is unfortunate, but we say, you will adhere to this. Unfortunately, the state of Texas is now charging $35, but there it is. And they can see the reference right there. Forced answers. This one is where I'm going to ask the student to upload a copy of their most recent transcript. We do this at SAM for a couple of reasons, because we want to capture what they look like at entry. That's important for us for reporting not only to the state, but also to some of our accreditors. But if you were thinking about this on the advanced side, there might be a transcript upload that shows your bachelor's degree, but also perhaps something that shows your work history or a capture of your certification, which is very easy to download off of SBEC also, of course. So you can have many of these on there also if you need the person to upload a file. It is required. I've got an asterisk here. So I click on this button and I'm gonna, if you've been with us for a while, I've got a generic submission, which is just a stupid Word document with some words on it. And it's gonna come in, boom, there it is. And it's successful in here in just a few seconds. There it is, upload success. So I've got that in there now. And as I don't remember if it was Val or Misty was talking about this, something that we do and something that y'all might want to do is have on the application itself, especially for your teachers that are coming in, some sort of a self-assessment of dispositions before they're even admitted. And the one that we've used has several major areas. And we force the student to not only say how they feel about this statement, I exhibit professional judgment and tact. And I guess I should say right out loud, any student that comes in and says always, 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 you really start to wonder about, because we've got student teachers that still have to work on a few things. So I'll leave it at that. We also ask the student to, in a very short, a couple of sentences, explain why they said that. And this is a required field, and I've got a text box here. Now I'm just going to type an X. And I'm going to say most of the time on all of these and put in an X. It's up to y'all if you want to do something like this. It could be useful in reviewing a student that is separate from the academic side. The student, students who are going to be teachers, they need to understand that they're going into, excuse me, they're going into a profession that in some cases people have a better positive viewpoint of them than politicians and lawyers, which may not be saying much, but even sometimes people in the medical profession. Folks look up to teachers, that they are honorable, and this may give that teacher a taste of what you're going to be expecting, not only in the program, but when they go out into the field. So once again, I'm just putting twos all the way straight down on this and not giving much of a justification, but I have to do something in order for me to submit this. And we're almost done here. If you were with us on a couple of the other days, there was a dispositions form that the mentor teacher or the faculty member might be using to rate someone. As it turns out, the way it was set up for this test account and your sandbox here, it's the same identical form, but instead of iMessages, it's the candidate, demonstrates ethical decision-making required of a professional educator. So very, very similar there. Electronic signature, there I am, AAO. The student may worry about this, but they really shouldn't. Because this is set up as a rubric, it does give a total score and a total mean, but it really doesn't mean anything at all. And if I've done my job correctly, and I'm hoping some of you all who are playing at home have done your job correctly also, I'm going to go ahead and hit the submit button. Before I do that, I will mention that you could save this. If a person didn't have all of their ducks in a row, they might save it and come back to it. Generally speaking, we've had better success with saying get your ducks in a row first and then submit it all in one shot. But
Andy, before you hit submit, can I point out something to our friends online this morning?
Absolutely.
Perfect. If you could, sir, scroll up to the top of this disposition form. I know one of the initial programs, they were sort of, they were being encouraged over the last year to identify some way to assess the candidate's readiness to enter into the program. Their program was just way too large to interview, hundreds of students every year. So what they landed on as an admission policy is to have a disposition survey in place. It would take the place of an interview. And what they would do is have some kind of band of scores or maybe a cutoff score that they would use to identify folks that they deemed were ready to come into the program. So that would work for a very large program. And so I'm just saying that, and I just want to be explicit about that as much as possible. So folks may think about, okay, will that fit our needs, or are we small enough? Are we agile enough that we can have something like a two-parter, right? Where they maybe do a disposition, but as well do an interview. Now for this disposition that Maria created for us, I want you all to know that it's basically based on the Danielson framework. And so if you are an initial program, then you may want to think about what framework, and that's actually on your planning sheet, what framework you want to use, right? So Danielson is one, Tk20 is another, but all of you on the call, you know that Tk20 is just the grandchild of the Danielson. And so they're very much related. And so, but you all get to decide what framework you want to use going forward. And so I just wanted to point that out. Now, if you're an advanced program, of course, your framework is going to be different. We know our friends in the principalship often use those 11 competencies that you may want to switch out your disposition rating chart or self-assessment to align with those 11 competencies. But the framework you use is up to the program. And what we were thinking is that, wouldn't it be great that upon entry, our students have this sort of self-assessment, this disposition, and then at key areas along the way throughout the professional phase, they are taking the same disposition to see where they are. So I can imagine, for example, if you are in the TLAC program, your students upon admission, they're taking this disposition. Maybe once they get into clinical 2, they're taking it again. Then when they get into clinical 4 and clinical teaching, student teaching, maybe there is a mentor teacher who's going to assess them, and they're going to do another self-assessment at the end. And what we have is a really great way to look at student development over time. And we'll be able to see how particular students are doing, but all of our students at the program level as well. So we'll have the granular view, but also that macro view as well. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Val. I have to say, at SAM, we did exactly the same thing, because we used to, initially it's like, well, how are we going to interview people? We'll have the student record something, and having to review those and then, you know, do a rating, it got really, really crazy. We're not as big as y'all in terms of sheer numbers, but we're big enough that it got out of control, the whole video thing. But the state requires an interview. We went this route also, and I think it was positively brilliant. Now I'm noting that it is 10:03. It's time for a break. So I'm going to come down here to the bottom, back where I was, and I'm going to hit this submit button. And it says, are you ready to do this? Yes, I am. And lo and behold, last thing before we take a break, you'll notice this was the one that that was there before. This is the one that I created here today on the 21st, 9:46 a.m. Review in progress. So we don't know I don't know if this punk kid's going to get admitted or not. I guess we'll find out after the break. Val, do we want to take a full 10 minutes here and come back at 10:15?
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, friends, go get something, a nice beverage, walk around, stretch, and we'll see you here at 10:15. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you.
10:15.
And I'm going to stop my video. I'm back. Short break for me. If anybody is not taking a break and you've got a question here in the next, we got 7 more minutes. If you've got a question, please go ahead and unmute and ask away.
Andy, I do have a question. This is Maria.
Yeah.
Is there a way for faculty members and or staff to send letters of recommendations to students within the TK20 system?
So you're saying maybe as a part of the application, they need a recommendation letter, is that right?
Yes, or would the student have to just upload the letter of recommendation?
Okay, good question. And if I think the answer is going to be that the student needs to upload that.
Okay.
And you know, you can build a file upload part of that form that says upload up to 3 or however many letters that you're requiring. You can put that in there very, very easily.
Yes.
But the application itself is completed by the student and the student only.
Thank you.
No worries. Does anybody else have a question while we're waiting another 6 minutes, it looks like? Is this being recorded right now, Maria?
Yes, I'm sorry. I was trying to find my.
Yeah, okay, I see it up there. Never mind, I see it. Okay, I was looking down at the bottom of my Zoom screen. I just want to reflect on how much I should have invested in Zoom in December of 2019. That and the webcam industry, I should have invested in that, and maybe toilet paper. Maybe.
Like, I'm good on one of those areas. I have plenty of toilet paper, but
I feel like I've been living in an episode of the Jetsons for about a year. No, because everything is, you're talking to these screens and you can see people, and that was all the Jetsons were about. Now, if I could just get a Rosie.
Well, okay, we need a Rosie, but Misty, you just referenced the Jetsons, and you watched the Jetsons when you were growing up like I did too, right? And you said, that'll never happen.
Exactly.
Guess what? We've got flying cars now.
Well, I'm more concerned with Rosie. I need a Rosie.
Rosie had an attitude though, and I think I'd need to do some reprogramming on Rosie.
She can have all the attitude she wants if she takes care of me like she took care of the Jetsons.
I just want that machine to come down and fix my hair.
Yes, absolutely.
Think that would save years over a lifetime.
I that's the other thing I was reflecting on. When I was at Texas A&M many years ago, I was sporting a very common male haircut called a mullet. Business in the front and party in the back, right? And right before I got into student, and back when I did student teaching at A&M, there was no such thing as going out into the field until you got student teaching. That didn't exist. And so right before I did student teaching, I got my hair cut off. Grew it back later, and unfortunately genetics took over. So instead of sporting a mullet for a few years, I was sporting a skullet. I'm not kidding.
I've got visual.
Hey, go to Google and wiki up skullet and you'll see some skullets.
Oh, I think I've seen them in my past, yes.
So, and at this point in time, I just use a number 1 and just give myself a haircut every couple of weeks and I'm done. I don't need Rosie I don't need that. I don't need the machine.
Funny.
Good times. I lived in Moses Hall when I was a freshman and a sophomore.
Oh, Moses.
Yep, ate at Sabisa.
I love Sabisa.
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't have a car for the first couple of years, so it was like depend on other people or go eat at Sabisa, and very, very cost effective. I think I was on at that point in time. You could get on like a meal plan. I had 20 meals a week, which was every day you could have 3, and then 2 on Sundays. I think they let the staff have Sunday night off or something like that. But that was good. We were not allowed to have microwaves in our dorm rooms. A small coffee pot was about the only thing they allowed. That and a popcorn popper.
How did we ever survive?
You know.
All right, everybody. It is 10:15. Welcome back. I hope you're ready to continue our journey on discussion on applications and review. If you are just joining us, you missed a powerful conversation about the Jetsons. So we're back and we're going to have a great day. We're going to wrap this up today, day 3 of our boot camp. So Andy, let us turn it back over to you so we can continue.
Thank you very much. I want to do one thing on the side real quickly that I haven't done for the last 2 days, because I think it's important for the programs to understand one small thing. You will be giving a lot of information over to Misty and Maria so that they can build the forms for you. The forms will come together for field experiences and for portfolios and field and course-based assignments, and also for this through the use of what's called a template. And the template is this construct in Tk20 where everything is associated the way you want it associated. The important thing about applications that I need to point out is that some of the programs may want to take control of this once the template is built. And if I click, and right now I'm a unit administrator, and for those of you who might be doing this, you'll have access to this. I'm going to come down here and just show you that there is such a thing as an application template builder. And when I click on that, I can see the one that I built right here. It's locked because it's been used. You can create new ones if you want to. But when I click on this one, we see the association between, well, I'll get to that association here in just a moment. This is the screen right here that is going to be important because the applications, once they are created and the template is built, you'll be able to control the dates that people can actually use the application. The application can turn on and turn off as often as you want to. Now I've got this one set to turn off here in just about 9 days, but because y'all might still be playing in June, I can go ahead and change that to the 30th of June. Normally we have ours set to turn on about 8 o'clock in the morning and then finish up at 5 o'clock in the evening. And they turn it on and off throughout the semester so that students understand that there are deadlines, but there might be an additional window for them to apply in. And also there's a place here for the term, and you can consider that to be where you are right now, which might be spring or summer of 2021, or the student who is applying right now is applying for admittance in the fall 2021 semester. You can use this either way. And you've got different choices on this, I think. Nope, there's no, okay. I'll show Misty and Maria how to add some choices to this as to how you want to do that. But you've got the controls right here, and so long as the dates don't overlap, you can actually build out additional openings and closings. So it opened and closed. It's closing on the 30th. If I want to reopen it on the 15th of July for just a week, see, that would be +7, so that's the 22nd. Oh, there it is. Okay, that was locked in place. So I'll go ahead and make this one fall 2021 also. Small brain oops right there. You do have some different terms that you can use right here. however y'all want to do that. I forgot this one was already locked because it's in use. But you can build these out in advance if you wish to, and you've also got some other choices. Are students allowed to submit after the due date? We always say no, you have to do it during the due date. This one right here says, can the application be reviewed at any point in time? This one's set to yes for this particular reason. The next two screens I'm not going to mess with, but the next two screens are where you say, this is the application that we're using, and this is the review form. So that's the template that brings these pieces together, and in this case, also includes when it gets turned on and when it gets turned off. And I'll go ahead and click save right here. And that'll work just fine. So I wanted to take that one little aside with that before we get to the review of these applications. And I hope some of you all did an application here so that we can review them in the sandbox together. I'm going to pause and look at your faces and say, do you have any questions right now about either the student completion of the application, which we did before break, or anything else up to this point in time? Do you have questions? Okay. I hope you all are continuing to dream and say, what's possible? Lots of things are possible. So I'm going to hide you all one more time so I can see my screen. I'm going to log out of my unit administrator account, and I'm going to come back in as a coordinator account, and I'm going to use my U test coordinator account. So if you're playing along at home and you want to review your application that you completed, please go ahead and log in with your coordinator account. And this time there's a twist. Instead of becoming a faculty member, we're going to bypass the SSO and come in with the role application reviewer. We're going to come in with the role application reviewer right now. And as it turns out, there's not much for the application reviewer to actually look at, but they're only reviewing the application. You can actually add some other things over here if you need to. But the vast majority of the faculty on y'all's campus are probably not going to be reviewing applications. It's probably going to be 2 or 3 people in each area where an application has been built. So Misty and Maria will be able to grant access to becoming an application reviewer. You just have to come up here once you've logged in for real and switch yourself from either staff or faculty role into that application reviewer so that you can see these right here. So I'm an application reviewer. I've logged in with my demo coordinator account, flip that role, and I'm going to hit applications. And it looks like only one other person who was playing along at home, whoever had C, created an application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this. This is the one that's already done. I'm going to go ahead and come in and review this. Before I do that, I want to tell you all that initially this is going to be a pretty short list. Within 1 year, y'all are going to have hundreds, if not thousands, of applications in this thing at the different levels. The application to the EPP, the application for student teaching, the application for the professional level programs. And it's going to get overwhelming very, very rapidly. So instead of trying to find it in a list that is 2, 3, 20 pages long, come up here and use the search box where you can choose which application you want to do, like that one. And I only want to see ones, let's say, where it needs review, say, like that. Or you can look up a student specifically. There's different ways that you can apply these filters and then do the search. Now, everybody in here is doing this. So if I hit search, I'm going to get the same thing. There it is. But you can use the search up here to narrow down what you as a specific reviewer need to look at. So here we go. I'm going to review my use student right here. I'm going to click on it. Now, surprise, surprise, surprise. If you've been with us for Monday or Tuesday or both, you're saying, Andy, we've got a split screen again. And I'll say, yes, you do. You've got the student side on the left and the processing, the forms that are completed by the assessors, as it were, over here on the right. So you may remember that I said 712 physics, math, and I chose 712 history. We already talked that that doesn't make a lot of sense, but you can see that I filled in everything else that I needed to fill in. And somewhere down here, here's that thing that I uploaded, which is just a stupid Word doc, but it could be a PDF, it could be a JPEG, it could be just about anything for that piece of information that's kind of like in an electronic format that you need to capture. I can click on this. It's going to say, it's going to do this temporary save thing. That's fine, I'll save it. And in just a few seconds, I can look at, in this case, what should be a transcript. It's not a transcript. It's just a stupid Word doc that I've been reusing. But you can actually view this, take a look at whatever you need to look at. I'm going to close it right now and say, okay, we know what we need to look for now. And then we can move to this right-hand side. Now over here, there's a place for a final result. But before we do that, we need to fill in this application review form. This is another thing that I stole from Maria, and I shortened it because her forms were really, really long. And I don't mean that as a diss, I think is what all the kids are saying. Maria, yours was very detailed, and we've got a limited amount of time here today. So I put it down just a little bit. There's a flag, it's waiting for me to do something. It hasn't been done yet because I don't see any information right here. After somebody has looked at it, it'll have their username right here, or their first and last name right here, I should say, and it'll have the date that it was last updated. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into this review form. This is another thing, in addition to the application, that you need to be communicating, like on the application, what do we need from the student? And you also need to tell the people that are going to build the forms for you, these are the things that we need to check for when we're doing the review. Now, like I said, I made this kind of short. So I've got my student coming in and they've got 45 hours. Maybe they are coming in from A&M. Maybe they're a transfer student with 45 semester credit hours. Their overall GPA right now is a 3.2. And let's say they wanted to be a math teacher and we wanted to go ahead and capture their GPA in math. Their GPA in math is a 3.5, very impressive. And they actually have 21 hours, which is probably 7 classes, maybe 4 if they've got the calculus in there. But how many semester credit hours? Maybe we saw that on the transcript. So if that's important information to put in, you can put it in very, very easily. Now I threw this in here. I don't think this was on Maria's, but I said for the dispositions, based upon the student's self-assessment and rationale for rating, how do you rate this candidate? And I've got some information here. I might have said that was pretty good, or maybe we might need to work with that student, worrying about them. It could be that some of the things that student put down were really, really problematic. So if you want to put something in here like this, you can do it. I'm going to say good for right now. And I put down here, if this rating, if rating the student is unacceptable, please explain why. Okay. So we're going to do that. I've got a thing right here that says, did they meet the EPP academic requirements? This is probably what you all and the state have decided it takes to be an Aggie teacher. Okay, this student does have the academic requirements met based upon what we know about the student from what they put in and what we've been able to look up otherwise. Were the dispositions checked and flagged for follow-up as needed? Yes, or yes, they were flagged or the student will not be accepted on the basis of the dispositions. So if they get a no here or a no here, we're probably gonna reject them. We'll leave it like that for right now. This is a test student. I'm going to put in today's date right there. And we found at Texas A&M, it's a great idea to say who did this. So my initials and any comments that I want to put in here. Remember, everything that you do in Tk20 is stored electronically and it is subject to open records requests. So I urge you all to use professional language. I shouldn't have had to say that, but I did. I'm sorry. Okay, if I need to upload something, I can. It's right here. Otherwise, I can go ahead and hit save and close. All right, so this has been reviewed. You can see that's me, last name, first name, and that's the date that it was last reviewed. Now, if that's all you need to do, and you could actually say that somebody else needs to come in and look at this, which is fine, you can do that. But we're ready to go. If we're ready to do something with this, I can actually say not admitted. And once again, we've got a spot right here for some comments. Open Records Act applies. Academic and dispositions, or whatever you need to put here, or you can leave it blank. That's not required. Now, Tk20 does have a neat little feature if you choose to use it. We do not use it at SAM, but because email is very, very easy. Once we get to this stage, we can email the student with very detailed information that could be in HTML, a nice pretty email with this, that, and the other. But you can actually set this up, and if you're going to do this, I'd suggest coming up with some standard answers that go into this email body that you store in Microsoft Word, so you can just copy and paste in here. But, well, okay, I'm going to type in too bad, but, perhaps it's a congratulatory message. And I will also throw this in. The way I understand it, and I believe this is correct, in order for someone to become fully accepted into the EPP, not only do they need to apply, and not only do you need to accept them, TEA, in their total brilliance, has said, okay, you've accepted them. Now, sorry, this is funny. Now you have to be able to show us that the student accepted your acceptance. And if this is new to you, then be happy that you haven't had to worry about some of the minutia that TEA puts out. But this might be a place where you put in a link to a reciprocal acceptance survey, which could be something actually that you can build in Tk20 if you so wish. A kiosk survey would be appropriate for that, or if you've got some other mechanism for that. I want to pause real quickly and see if Misty or Maria or Val have anything to say about this particular stage, or if anybody else has questions.
I want to say that when we first showed folks this in our orientation, we realized that the automation piece that we currently have does not exist in Tk20. We have asked if they can do that, and we are in the queue awaiting a response. However, Andy did give me some good ideas on how to do this. And so that I have been playing around and looking around and asking my partners across the state for what they do. And I still haven't landed on how we're going to do that, but whatever it will not be anything additional for those folks that are reviewing applications to do. It will land on the student and on me. So there's no need for anybody else to panic or put any stress on worrying about how we're gonna do that or capture that. That's a compliance thing, and that falls directly in my lap. So
Okay, well, you will be receiving actually a survey that I built in TK20 so that you can evaluate this session, and I hope that you will complete it. We've gotten feedback from day 1 and 2. And if you are joining us and you've done that before, but you haven't completed your feedback yet, go back in your email and you'll find the link that you can complete the feedback. I always welcome ways that I can self-improve, presentation skills or whatever it may be. But that kiosk survey that you're filling out doesn't ask for personal information. Misty, if you wanted to use a TK20 construct, I would use a kiosk survey. The big difference would be the student would be required to put in their name and their ID number, because the kiosk survey is an on-demand survey, but you can tell them how to get to it in an email, however it goes out. Here's how to get into it with the passcode, and that they have to do that if they want to be fully admitted. So that's one option if you want to go down that road, and we will talk later, I'm certain. So,
yes.
okay. So at any rate, let's see, I'm going to minimize this screen. So I'm saying, too bad, you did not do very, very well. And okay, I did the save and close. Now up here at the top, now that I have completed all of this, I've got this checkbox right here. I'll go ahead and show this to you. I'm going to hit the submit button. That takes me back to my screen of students, and lo and behold, you can see right here, this student was not admitted, but the review was completed. This said review in progress just a few minutes ago. This one was done last night as I was completing some screenshots. So this student was not admitted. We're going to be able to run some reports on this fairly quickly here in just a few minutes. So I'm going to show you all that. But before I do, I want to go over here to my inbox right here and show you all, where is it? Here it is. I got an email last night that said, hey, congratulations on your acceptance to the Texas A&M Educator Preparation Program. There's one last thing that you can do, accept our acceptance. If you have questions, here's the emails. I don't know if that one's correct or not. I made that up. This one I know works. I made this up also. Reciprocal survey link and password, I am an Aggie teacher. Whatever. You can customize that however you want to as it comes in. And I think I just got up. There it is. There's my next email that came in, as you saw just a few minutes ago. Too bad, which of course you wouldn't put it quite like that. So that is, let's go back over here. That is the review process. It's not hard. Many of you all probably don't need to worry about this other than giving Misty or Maria the information that they need to build the application and what they need to build the review form. And now is a good time to pause because we've covered a lot. I told Val we might be finishing a little bit early. There's not a lot to the application and review process. It's pretty straightforward and it's not hard. Questions at all, unmute and ask me questions if you'd like.
Hi, I'm Laura Wilding, and
Yes.
I wanted to ask a question. So while you're on the screen, because it's a question pertaining to this one. So when someone is given the role of application reviewer, they are able to see applications from every program. They have that view of every program. And if I'm understanding you correctly, they would use the search to filter down to, or drill down to specific applications regarding their programs.
Okay.
Is that correct? Or
I'm going to give that question a 6 out of 10 for not only, no, it's a 10 out of 10 for being a very good question. The answer is maybe, and I'll explain that. If you have just one role that is application reviewer, and when I talk about roles, in TK20, behind the scenes, way behind the scenes, in the heavy administrative stuff, you can create as many different roles as you want to. At SAM, we actually created a separate role for the counselor education reviewers, the principal reviewers, the teacher application reviewers, the student teaching application reviewers. So if you go that route and actually get down and actually define those different kinds of roles, then in that template builder that I was showing you a few minutes ago, I'm hoping this makes sense. In that template builder, you assign which role is allowed to do something. Now in our sandbox right here, there's just one generic application reviewer. And if you've got that power to do that, then you're going to see every application.
Did you open up your pods?
If you, on the other hand, break it out
You know?
and give specific roles to people and then assign those roles in the template, then as perhaps a principal program, you would only see the principal applications. What was that, Dr. Wilding? Did that work?
Yes, that answered my question. Thank you.
You're welcome. I would suggest
Guys,
that.
this goes back to how are we going to set up these applications and identify them program by program so that not only are the students applying for the correct program, but so that you as the reviewer do not have to sort through a bunch of applications, opening the door for possibly overlooking someone, dropping someone's name by accident, reviewing, getting through halfway through the review process and realizing it's not your kiddo. So I hate this because I feel like I have said this for the past 3 days, but it's the truth. We just haven't quite figured all that out yet. And I think once we start building and playing more, things are going to be clearer and we're going to have a better idea of what needs to happen. So at this point, Laura, our goal is that you will have your own application and your own reviewer process. I'm sorry, my dogs are crazy, but we're getting there, Laura. We just haven't figured out exactly how to do it just yet.
I appreciate that, Misty. That's great. Here's a little follow-up question. So I see those parameters under the search where it says application template status. Is it possible to add the filter? Like, would we be able to add a filter that says program?
Actually, you won't have to. The reason that you will not have to do that is because, here we go. The reason that you would have to do that is because once Misty and Maria define teacher reviewers, principal reviewers, superintendent reviewers, once those are broken out, then only the applications that apply to that program will show up when you become, through this little process right up here, instead of application reviewer, I would say I want to switch from faculty to principal application reviewer. I don't know which program are you in?
I'm with the secondary Aggie Teach.
Okay, so it might well be that the secondary program, for whatever applications you all need to be reviewing, Misty and Maria will build out secondary teaching programs application reviewer, and then you would only need to, and that, how do I say this? That would be associated only with specific applications. So this one that says EC through 6 and 4 through 8, it wouldn't even show up. Your drop down right here would be basically either this generic one, which is the Aggie Teach, which is, I believe, your secondary and EC through 12s. You'd only see that one or a subset of those if you had them broken out by math or biology or whatever it may have been. So it's very, very effective to use a multiple set of roles in addition to the search bar right here.
Okay, that's great. I mean, appreciate that. So, I mean, I'm just going to revisit that previous question about adding filters. Is it possible to add other parameters, other filters on this page, or?
The short answer is yes. The long answer is that's a customization that would be done on the TK20 side. It's kind of like, I mean, their answer will probably be, yes, you're going to have to give us some time and make sure that it's figured out, and then we'll send it over for you to test it and this sort of thing. But if you wanted something else right here, and you were very specific about what you wanted, they could put a customization on your server, but it will only be on your server. It wouldn't be on Sam's server or anything else, unless it was a very, very useful filter, at which point in time, after they had it set up with y'all, they might roll it out for the rest of us. All the other TK20 institutions might get a really good mod like that. We have found at SAM that these three have been very, very effective in terms of being able to boil it down, kind of like a Venn diagram, boil it down to the things that only I need to see.
Okay, that's helpful, Andy, because I'm trying to think about this from Laura's perspective, right? So
Sure.
I'm thinking that once all of the program names have been flushed out and all of the roles have been clarified for my program, when I go in to log in to look at applications, I won't be inundated with all the other programs, right? So my stuff should show up, not applications from other programs.
I believe that is correct.
Okay.
And we're talking about some very much behind the scenes housekeeping items. None of them are difficult. Stay organized. You were making reference to Frosty, perhaps 12. For me, I prefer the Frosty 12-ounce beverages over daiquiris. After you've had a few of those, that is not the time to start playing in TK20.
Yes, yes.
You should really trust me on this.
Right.
So,
You know, I remember, and Misty, if you recall, with our client success manager at Watermark, it's really important that as we build out applications, we specify the names of those applications, because that is what sort of makes your programs unique. And then when you tie the roles to those applications, when you go to log in, you're not looking at everyone's stuff. You're looking at that particular program that's been assigned, or that particular application that's been assigned to your program. So I just want to alleviate a lot of fears. So our naming systems have to be really clear. And I think that's going to be a real benefit to us moving forward. You won't have to log on, Laura, and see everybody's application from everybody's program, because your program, the applications will be very specifically named, your roles will be laid out, and when you go to log on, you'll be able to just see the applications for your program. Then you'll be able to use the filters to see those applications that are in waiting, so to speak, and those that haven't been touched at all, and those that have been approved.
Right.
So I just wanted to alleviate that fear, but it goes back to a very clever naming system moving forward.
and that is the piece that we are still trying to figure out how to do. I'm actually visiting. I have don't talk about TK20 after hours. I have a great support group statewide, and many of them have lots of experience in TK20, and they have all shared wonderful ideas with me. And I'm meeting with a gal from Baylor today, and what she explained to me is when they first started, their naming of their applications, their forms, their everything was very, very specific. And she said it worked fantastic for the first year because everybody was very clear on what everything was named and what the roles assigned to it were. And she said, as they started to tweak things, they realized that some of that specificity didn't need to happen, and that they were able to kind of um, merge things around, because she said we made it too simple to identify, but too hard to get to, and too many steps to get to. And so when they revised it, they were able to kind of clean that process up. So I think the approach we should take is, as we are building and getting started and rolling all of this out, maybe we do need to be over specific and very narrow functions for everything until we all get more comfortable. And then once we get more comfortable, we can say, you know what, I really, really like this. Don't change it. Or, you know what, as an Aggie teach, it's not such a big deal for me to go in and look at all of them. I have the ability to go in, and if we put them all together, somebody else can help me out, those different things. So I think we're getting to that. And once we figure out how we want to get there, building it and assigning those roles are going to be super, super easy. And the role is going to match the name of your application. So if your application is Aggie Teach Science / math, your reviewer role is going to be application reviewer, Aggie Teach Science / math. And maybe at some point we add math, science, physical, maybe we merge some of those together, and maybe we don't even have to do that, get that specific in the beginning, but however we need to do it to at least get our feet wet and get moving. And that I do not want this to be any more complicated on advisors and faculty and staff who do these application reviews. That's why your input is so important, for us to understand what you need, so that when we build it, we not only build it right, we name it right, we give you the right roles, and everybody's ready to move forward.
That's excellent advice, Misty, and I hope everybody takes that to heart. Part of which what she said without saying it is, don't panic. This will get figured out. It'll take a little bit of time. I actually remember two folks from Baylor came and visited our campus for a couple of days, and their certification officer went off with one person, and their IT guy sat with me, and we pounded on some of this stuff, and they came away in really, really good shape. So Misty, I'm glad that you've got people around the state. I don't know where my people are, but I guess that's okay. The other thing I was going to say very, very quickly, it's almost break time. In fact, we're going to take a break here. Even though this is restricted, you're going to be able to set this up. Getting back to Dr. Wilding's question, yes, you're going to be able to restrict this by the reviewer only seeing their stuff. But remember, for now, if there's a principal application up there at the same time that there is a student teaching application, like the date range is still there, student teaching application and an application to the EPP, any student who logs in could conceivably, for whatever reason, somebody that is just getting started, they could fill out that application to becoming a principal, which of course makes absolutely no sense. And you'll talk about that person when you go get a glass of water at the water cooler going, you're not going to believe what just happened. We do the same thing. But for right now, there's no restrictions on which applications the students have access to. So that is exactly why the naming convention needs to be extremely clear. This is an application to get into the program. This is an application for student teachers or for people who want to student teach in the fall of 2022. This is an application to become, to join the Aggie principals, whatever it is. Very specific names, great idea. Break time?
Hey, let's take a break, but after the break or during the break, I would love to hear from some advisors and some people who do the application reviews and just what are you thinking? You know, are you wigging out or are you feeling pretty good? Or do you think this is it frightening you? What are your feelings so that we kind of know how to move forward? So think about that on your break and please talk to us.
And we'll do some reports after we get back from break, but it is, according to my clocks here, it's either 10:53 or 10:54. So how does about 4 minutes after 11 sound?
Sounds good, Andy. Let's make it 11:05 and we're back and then we'll finish up. Okay.
Awesome.
All right,
Awesome.
everybody. 11:05. See you then.
Bye.
And I'm hanging out for anybody that wants to schedule a time to have a glass of wine and cry, or anybody that's afraid and you're hiding in your closet, talk to me. I've been there.
Hey, Misty,
Yes.
this is Beth. Can we shift our time on Tuesday to 9:30?
Sure.
Because like my team is working on the stuff and I think we need to meet at 9 and process through and then y'all come at 9:30.
Absolutely. I will update that invite and send that back out.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, and I sent you an email about a student wondering if that person needed to take the PAC test. When you get a second, I just want to let you know it's in your inbox. Can you let me know about that one?
Yes, ma'am. And I am so sorry.
I get it.
Consumed my life this week. So
I know what you're doing right now. I trust me, I get it. I just wanted to put that on your plate, add more to your stress.
and I have another question about another one of your students too. So it'll probably involve a phone call, but it will likely be Monday if that's okay with you.
Perfect.
Thank you. Charles, Jenny, are you freaking out?
Yeah.
Don't, my friend.
No, not really.
We'll get there. It's no more work than what you've done in the past. It's just a little bit of a learning curve. Hey, Jane, Joanna, what are you thinking for your program? How are you feeling? Oh, they're not there.
Oh, I'm here. It's Jane.
Hi. Hi.
So this is, there's a lot in this that is actually a duplicate from when they apply for the program as part of their master's. So that's the only thing. And we're also, you know, in the Unicast system, we're filling out a rubric for their acceptance. So
we, that is a conversation. That's a conversation we need to have, but keep in mind that application and admission to Texas A&M University as an undergraduate or a graduate is entirely separate from application and admission and acceptance to an educator preparation program. Those are two entirely different steps. Now, is that to say that stuff for graduate level programs cannot be removed from your application because it is a duplicate, no, we can certainly do that. But keep in mind that some of the stuff that we're collecting in this application, in addition to the things we need for compliance, are things that the college would like to see for recruiting purposes, for scholarship purposes, other things. So that's where that conversation is going to have to come in, and that's above me. But we can certainly address that and see if the information you guys are collecting through a graduate admission process is compatible to what the college is trying to collect, and is it necessary? And if it isn't, we'll just take it out.
Okay, perfect. Because, so much of it, for example, I think the disposition part is really interesting. And that's certainly not part of the application, but, they are having to, we're already reviewing all their transcripts, for example, because they have to apply with the transcript. And so this is just an example, but I'm like, do they really have to upload another transcript? And
well, so yes, and I'm gonna say yes to that, because remember that, again, when we get audited, TEA does not care what they submitted to Texas A&M to get into graduate school. TEA cares, do they have a bachelor's degree and do they have the correct number of content hours? And the only way we're going to be able to prove that is by that application being uploaded and by someone in your program completing that review. So you've already done this. You're currently already doing that. You currently go into the system and tell us how many hours do they have? What is their GPA? So you're already duplicating, and that duplication on that part is not going to go away because that's a TEA requirement.
Right.
So some of that is not going to be able to be removed. Can you remove some of the questions about extracurricular activities and income and this, that, and the other? Possibly. But the compliance pieces of it, it's just going to have to stay as a duplicate.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So, I mean, I understand the distinction between A&M and EPP. So I look at it from the student point of view is,
I know.
they're going to go in and go, well, we've already done this and everything, and they have. So,
and that's part of the
education. Our launch team, we'll talk about maybe some things that, how that could look specifically for a graduate level post-bac. Yeah.
It's a very sad day when TEA says you've got to double collect stuff. And unfortunately, when I call the governor, he doesn't answer. And so nobody changes any of that. But and everybody knows that there's a difference between A&M admission and TEA admission, but it's very easy for us to forget what is required for EPP admission. And I feel like a broken record having to remind people of that, but you guys do your job and you do it very well. And that's why you have that job. And that compliance piece is my job. And so that's why I turn into a little broken record, and I feel bad about that, but it is what it is. And we just have to play along with EA, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Can I throw in my 2 cents
we
worth
have
real
a good
quick?
audit.
That's right. Yes, Andy.
My 2 cents worth. As I said, somehow our graduate programs, the advanced, the principal type programs, they figured out how to do that on one application and check all the boxes and make sure that people like me who have to upload the information into TEA for certain compliance measures, although our certification officer certainly does a lot of it also. On the undergraduate side, at least, we tell people, yes, you were admitted to Sam Houston State University, and yes, your major and minor will lead you to a degree. You are completing this application because you are applying you're applying for certification. You're getting you're going to get a degree from Sam, and that was the regular application. This application is to apply to the EPP specifically because certification is not the same thing as getting the degree.
That's right. And that's a big part of the education piece that we have to let the students know. And I always tell them, your degree is coming from Texas A&M. Your certification is coming from the state. So you've got to look at it as an application to Texas A&M and an application to the state. And most of the time they get it. Most of the time they don't care. They're just doing whatever they need to do to move on. And it hasn't been an issue. I mean, they've all been doing it already. This just may be a little bit, well, it's not going to maybe, it is going to be a more inclusive application process, and it is going to take them a little longer. But again, we're not making this move just for compliance. We're making it to make ourselves better.
All right. Misty, it's now 11:05.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
Get started, but I love the conversation you were just having with Jane, and that needs to, I think it's worth repeating now that everyone's back. I hope you're all back. One of the things I want to remind you all that we know we need to do, and I love how Dr. Kwok, when we asked yesterday what kind of support you need, what things do we need to have in place, and her recommendation was, you know, the how-to videos specific to the different roles, like, you know, university supervisors or students. And that was our plan as well. We're going to be spending the summer making little how-to videos. But I want to stress the point that in that how-to video, for example, for students who have to initiate the application, that we're going to do our best to spell out from the very beginning, the start of that how-to video, that there are 2 application processes that need to take place, right? You're applying to Texas A&M and you're applying to get your certification with the state of Texas, so with TEA. So we have to really be explicit with our students and hit that. I don't think we've ever really done a good job collectively doing that. I think we've protected our students. It's like, you don't need to know all that happens behind the curtain, right? With like Oz, but now we have to put it front and center and make it very explicit. So if you could just sort of do a recap with the conversation you had with Jane, and Jane talked about the application and the information they're already collecting with their for their program. Could you talk a little bit about that, Misty, for everyone?
Yes, what part? I'm sorry. I said a lot.
No, the part about there being 2 application processes and that there may be an opportunity with the ed prep application and take some stuff out, you know?
Yes. So what we said was it's imperative for the students to know that one application is for their degree and the other is for certification. And if you are collecting the same information, especially, and actually that's really only going to apply to the graduate level programs where they are applying to graduate school through this new system and you're collecting more things. If it is a duplicate, and if it is asking them to do 2 dispositions or, you know, 2 interviews or whatever, those pieces can be removed from the EPP application as long as it is not information that is necessary for compliance, or that the college says, you know what you're collecting in a graduate school application is sufficient, and we're not interested in finding out extracurricular activities on our graduate students. Things like that can be removed. And that's going to all be part of your launch team letting us know, because honestly, I don't know what the application to grad school looks like. I don't know what you have to do to verify all of that. So that's where it's going to be crucial that you let us know, hey, these certain pieces, we're already collecting them and here's what they look like. And at that point, I'm going to knock on Dr. Irby's door and say, the college has said they want to collect all of this. Do you care if we remove it from the grad cert program or the principalship program or the school counselor program? You know, that's where the college level folks are going to make that decision as to whether or not we need that. So again, it's all going to be important that you share that information with us so that it isn't more for you or the student unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, thank you, Misty. I just want to add, sometimes when we're looking at our programs, we're thinking, oh, well, that piece isn't necessary. I don't want to burden our office or the student to complete it. But what we're finding is that we're not always servicing our students the best we can because we have missing information. Let me give you an example. First generation, we have now a first generation office, right, where we're supporting our students, but we often don't know who these students are. So it's really good to get that information on an application somewhere. The level of income. So when scholarships become available, we possibly know who to approach and identify. So there are many reasons that often aren't sort of front and center. And there is a list of some absolute non-negotiables that the college will need on those applications. And then there are other places on the application where you get to absolutely customize as well. So we want to be able to share the rationale in our meeting with all of you one-on-one so that it's very clear why certain parts of that application need to be there. So, because there are other needs that may not sort of pop out to all of you. So looking forward to those conversations in those launch meetings.
Okay. Maria, do you want to send out a link to the survey or anything before we wrap up? Because I don't have a whole lot more. I've got a little bit more, but excellent conversations and excellent questions that I hope I've been able to answer mostly. And other people can answer. But if we can get that survey sent out, and you also send out the email, which I do appreciate. A couple more things, and I think we will be done before noon. So if no one else has any questions, let's proceed ahead. It looks like something just went into the chat. I think it did. Okay. So the last thing I wanted to show you was some of the reporting that's available. And a funny thing happened as I was building these documents here for y'all's distribution. I discovered that y'all do not have any of the old canned reports that we do at SAM for applications. And I think we could probably get some of those imported for y'all if you like what we see. And I'll talk to Misty and Maria and Val here at a different time and maybe demonstrate those on our server and see if you like those reports any better. But when I was looking at this, and I looked up, let me become a regular admin real quickly here. When I was looking at these in the reports, and I did a little search for application, APPL, this is the only one that came up, which is kind of it's a useful report, but like I think I've run this report like 3 times in 13 years. It's just not important. So what I went ahead and did on y'all's server is I built a couple of reports right here. You can rename these if you want to. Everybody's got access to them as faculty members. That could get dialed back at some point in time. But these 2 reports I built on the fly, and they are the instant insight type reports right here, as opposed to a core or what's called a next generation and NG report, which if y'all start playing around in TK20, you might see some of those listed. And I did it by just clicking on this new report and walking through what is basically a wizard, but I'll show you what this looks like real quickly for reporting purposes. We'll do the application to the EPP first of all. I'm gonna click right here. I've already set this up, so we don't need to go through the form selection and the report settings. I'm just gonna apply the filters and I'm gonna say, yes, I just want the test instance. I've opened it wide, very, very wide for an entire year. Give me every single possible, give me every single possible choice here, and show me every single final result. Now, when I do that, and I hit this generate button right here, got anything here? Yeah, that's fine. When I hit this generate button, we're only going to see one application. Oh, we do more than one. Okay. I was thinking, okay, it's only showing two applications, excuse me. I did this one quite a while back, and I did this one yesterday. You saw earlier that I had created another one here today. Whoever the C person is for today, they created an application, which is great, but it's not showing up here. And the reason for that is when you do those instant insight reports, it can only use data that has been overnight warehoused. So to run a report, in this case, this one that's set up to run for the application itself, it's only going to pick up things that happened yesterday or before, and you need to be aware of that. If I ran this report it's not a real-time report, it is a near-time report. So you'd have to look at this from the day before. Nonetheless, we do have a data display. There's an analytic display that doesn't usually tell me very much, but the beauty is I can export this, and I suspect those of you who will be doing reporting will go ahead and do the export to Excel, where your data is easier to manage. And that's going to take just a few seconds here. That's one of the nice things about Instant Insight reports, is the report generation usually just takes a few seconds to happen here. It's going to create an Excel spreadsheet for me here in just a few seconds. I say that. There it is. Okay, right there. It's actually got the full name to it and when it was run, which is good if you need to compare these. But this is what an example report that is an instant insight report will give you in Excel. Those are the two results that we gave. These are our column names. Up here we have how it was run, the parameters by which it would choose those records. Excuse me. This A student, this was this is a demo student. That one I didn't even do anything with. This one I had admitted last night, so that person came in just fine. But you've got a full record of everything that was put in, and also everything that we know about that particular student in terms of their answers to these questions. So you'll be able to use Excel filtering very, very effectively to find people that meet certain parameters or people that don't meet certain parameters on the application itself. But also, excuse me, I went ahead and built a report that y'all can use in your testing environment here for the review forms. And right now there's only going to be one review form out there because there's only one that was done last night. And you can also see that I'm only typing in part of a search term here. So here's the application review form instant insight report. It works the same way. It skips right past these and allows you to put in any changes that you want. I'm saying the assessment review date occurred sometime this year. This is the review form, not the application form. This is the review form. And I can leave these as none selected, or I can actually make some choices off of this if I want to. None selected basically means I want everything, so I can leave those blank. I hit generate. It produces the same sort of thing for me. I'll do an export to Excel. And here in just a few seconds, we'll have a second Excel spreadsheet. Here it is. That one ran a little bit quicker. That's good. All right. Oh, look at that. I forgot about this. Maria went in as Mickey Mouse and completed some of this. Wait, maybe I ran the wrong one. I may have run this incorrectly. I chose the wrong records because I should be seeing you test student on here, not Maria. Point being though, there is an application review form report available to you if you want to use it. And you'll probably end up building separate reports for each application and separate reports for each review form. And it's not a big deal to do that. I kind of expect that from time to time, I'll get a phone call in my office at SAM and talk to Maria or Val or Misty about how to do something like this. It's very straightforward. And once they are set up, basically any faculty member can get to them if they want to. So that data is also available for y'all in a review form. Let me move this out of the way real quickly so I can get to my scroll bar. It's got all of the pieces on here that I want to review, all of the different things that were a part of this application review form. So there are reports out there. And we may try and share some of those reports that we use and get Tk20 to put those on your server, because we do use a few other reports other than these. And ladies and gentlemen, wow, it's been 3 days. Some of you have been here all 3 days, and I don't know. I'm kind of a geeky guy. In general, I'm in my sewing room. I'm in my radio room with y'all right now. And I love talking about Tk20. And I hope that this has helped and maybe alleviate a few fears. There's a lot coming at y'all. There's a lot of work to do, but it's doable. Val, I'm ready to roll credits.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Andy. Your 13 years experience with Tk20 has really shined through over the last 3 days. We really appreciate your time and your expertise. I really wanted us to just pause, and I love Misty's question before. She was asking the folks in advising and other staff and faculty, how you're feeling. So right now, if you all could just sort of engage your mic or engage the chat and just let us know how you're feeling, voice any concerns. You know, we have our meetings coming up, our launch meetings coming up at early June. So it's a good time for us to maybe have some uncomfortable conversations to move the needle a little bit. But your concerns are absolutely necessary as we move forward. And your ideas and strategies for us moving forward are welcome as well. So we need to be thought partners in this process as we move forward. So we can't move forward unless we address some of those boogaboo items that are just haunting us. Like, how are we going to do this? I don't feel comfortable with that. Let's be honest. Let's get it all on the table when we have our conversations. We're going to do the work for you behind the scenes over the summer and construct those forms and get everything built for you. But we really need you all to have your preliminary conversations, think through those 3 buckets, really think through what your needs are. And then when we get together, we'll be able to take a look at your specific needs at that time. So as we close out today, I want to thank Maria and Misty for working very hard over the last couple of months to get this boot camp organized. I want to thank Andy Oswald once more, and I'll continue to thank you, sir. We really leaned on you a lot over the last few months, and you've always made yourself available, and we really appreciate that. You know all the ins and outs, and it shows. So thank you again.
Now, can I say something real fast? I know everybody wants to go. So most of you know me, and you know me pretty well. And I can tell you that I typically am all about learning something new and changing and whatever. And I went into this very, very skeptical. And after my first few meetings with TK20, I was excited because I saw things happening. And then it got to a point to where everything became very technical. And I got very, very scared because I am not a technical person. I just learned how to open a PDF on my phone last summer. So I got very, very scared. And all I could think was, how in the hell am I going to direct Texas A&M to get to this point? And then things again started to become real. And I had a chance to see the things develop. And I got excited because it was turning into a reality. And even with my minimal technology skills, I was able to create something. And it gave me a lot of pride and it made me feel really, really good. Now, I still lay in bed at night and panic about how some of this is going to work. And I don't foresee that changing. And you may lay in bed and panic and you may freak out too. But please get on this train with me and share these emotions with me, because I am as scared as y'all are, but I'm as excited as you are. And if you're not excited yet, let me show you some things that maybe will excite you. But it is going to be hard, and it's going to involve a lot of time and effort. But I promise, if I can do it with the minimal skills I have, you can do it too. And there's still a lot we have to figure out. And there's still a lot of things that we don't know how we're going to do. But I'm a huge believer in the more people we have sharing ideas and trying to figure it out, the better off we're going to be. And Maria and I and the principal program, 1 week, we spent almost 12 hours on Zoom getting their stuff together. But in the end, we were all celebrating. We were excited. We failed a bunch and we thought we had things done, and then we tested and it didn't work. And we just went right back into it and tried again. So be patient with us, be scared with us, but most importantly, be excited with us, because I think we're going to get there, y'all. It's just, it is frightening. I mean, my voice is shaking now because I think about how much emotion has gone into this for me, and it will for you too. But I think when we get to the end, we're all going to be very pleased and at least have the skills to make the changes we need. So I'm going to jump off of my soapbox here and let you guys go. But thank you for getting on the train with us and riding with us as we do this.
Well said, Misty. Couple of quick reminders. Let's please complete the anonymous survey, your homework assignments, assemble, organize your program launch team. Let Maria know who are those folks who are going to help you put together your ideas for our 3 buckets. So let Maria know who those folks are. Members of the program launch team will complete the Tk20 planning worksheet. That's your opportunity to sort of hash out all of the elements of those 3 buckets. Then you're going to schedule your meeting with Maria and Misty, and those meeting dates are between June 1st and June 18th. This afternoon, Maria is sending out the doodle poll, so you will have it. You probably won't know, when your team will be completely assembled until next week. That's fair. But those of you who already do know that, you can go ahead and jump on that doodle poll to lock down your date and time. So that's our homework. Very good. That's our next step. We're looking forward to working with you all and hashing out those 3 buckets. Here's our last slide, and I just want to end on this last slide, everyone. You saw this figure for our first 2 days of boot camp. We talked about change and how difficult it's going to be over the next couple of months to make sure that we are ready to launch. And remember, we're not doing TK20 because we have some extra time in our back pocket, but because we want to make sure that we get things a little bit better for the students that we serve. One of you reached out to me 2 days ago and said, Val, really, all of this is really about the students and about ensuring that our programs are more compliant and that our programs are growing every year and getting better. And that is just the right attitude to have. I warned you all with Satir's change model that we're about to go into the valley after this foreign element known as TK20 is upon us. It's going to get to a place, guys, where we're going to start failing fast and then doing well. And so it's going to be an emotional roller coaster, but we're in this thing together until we get to the other side for our students. Thank you for joining us for the 3-day boot camp. We really appreciate your time. Enjoy your weekend. Looking forward to seeing you at the launch meetings. Goodbye,
Bye,
everybody.
y'all. I think we deserve an early happy hour. It should start earlier today.
Maybe a mimosa. Thanks, everybody. Hang
Thank
back
you,
if you have
everybody.
any questions. Feel free to hang back if you have any questions.